let's go to a true cornerstone of the four horsemen, the four horses asses of the derpocalypse. And in this particular situation, we have Ben Shapiro making the old ageism joke. Joe Biden's presidency has fallen and it can't get up. Now, keep in mind, the guy who came on saying you can cure COVID with Viagra first appeared, I believe, talking about it on Fox and Friends. So apparently they have a problem getting it up as well. But we'll find out. And I'm sure, I mean, it's a solid clip, but we'll find out some real information. This will at least be, you know, he's a member of the intellectual dark web, right? Which resides entirely in his eyebrows. Which he shares with Jesse Waters. You'll notice he's not on Jesse Waters' show because they have to split the eyebrows. Or unless, wait a minute. Is that Brian Kilmeade? Or is that Jesse Waters when Ben Shapiro has the eyebrows? Full disclosure, I was a guest on Fox and Friends many times back in the day before they lost their fucking minds. And they were just morning dum-dums. And now they're angry morning dum-dums.
Let's bring in Ben Shapiro, who actually knows what it's like.
The author of a book, The Authoritarian Moment, How the Left Weaponized America's Institutions Against Dissent. It's almost kind of a double negative situation there. You're kind of overlapping, just too much. Just call it the leftist authoritarian moment and leave the rest of that shit out. Like the boot's funny. That's how you know it's the left. They wear boots.
A lot. He's the host of the Ben Shapiro show, podcast, and he's editor of the Daily Wire. And he created the whole thing and moved it across.
And his microphone is strangely perky today for some reason. It's off to his left, and we're not quite sure why. He just put, oh, it wasn't in the shot. He wanted to make sure it was in the shot, and you couldn't see it because of his shirt, so he moved it to the left. I see. Why is it on his left?
Country. Ben, how does it feel to take on the government and...
Ba-bum-bum-ba-bum-bum. Here's a story of Ben Shapiro, who was living on a tiny corner of the web. He had 3 friends on Fox's mornings, and they all wore Depends. All right.
Win.
We here at Daily Wire are really excited about this. I mean, the fact is that we really put our money where our mouth was. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight the Biden vax mandate in court. We were the first company in America to file a federal lawsuit against the Biden vax mandate on major businesses. And watching them going down in flaming defeat is well worth that cost.
Yeah, did you have Glenn Beck over to celebrate?
So Joe Biden, by the way, his approval rating, more people now like certain types of bowel cancer than...
By the way, 47%, according to Fox, just for the record. We'll keep that up, shall we? Every time that comes up. There you go. Why do I keep doing that? I've got to keep it, you know? Hold on. Fox. There you go. May I? Thank you. Here we go. There you go. Yeah, there we go. If, by the way, if what Ben Shapiro is saying is true, then Trump was... Biden gets closer to breaking the line on bowel cancer's favorability. He gets 3 points closer to that than Trump ever did.
Joe Biden at this point. I think that's well-deserved.
Wow.
Well, so going forward, given what...
By the way, like a snide attempt at a joke, kind of pitiful. No real basis in anything unless he knows something, unless like Ducey had bowel cancer and Kilmeade thinks that's funny. And he was like, I'm going to get such a raise when Ducey's bowel cancer takes him or something. They have some sort of history about that. And that's why he used why he used bowel cancer, other than the fact that that might be Ben Shapiro's only comic reference because of, you know, how he lives.
The Supreme Court said yesterday it will be up to every business now to decide whether or not they're going to have a mandate, but it won't be mandated, to overuse the word, by OSHA. It would just be from the company. So going forward, we heard this morning that apparently...
Yes, and then it becomes a moral thing instead of a law. Like for companies that give a shit about their employees and don't want to lose any, like Fox, they'll have it. Because they didn't have to be legally forced to. Fox didn't do it because it was a legal mandate at that point. They wanted to start up and they didn't want to lose any of their hosts and any of their main producers and executives. So they started doing it on their own. Daily Wire, somehow thinks that Ben Shapiro is sort of guaranteed to not get it and fuck everybody else. Because God stuff.
Bank based in New York City, they're going to keep the mandate. They've got 99% of their employees vaccinated.
Yeah, most do at this point. Also, Fox is keeping theirs.
And they say, you know what? We think it's a good policy. So it's going to be up to every company now to decide how they're going to manage this pandemic going forward, because we've seen the vaccines are not as effective, perhaps, as we were sold. So people have got to...
No. Oh, no. Look at the death rates, my friend, as you were sold. This is why the maggots keep dying en masse. That's why. This is why the maggots are dying. Because Ducey and Kilmeade and Ben Shapiro think that the one of the easiest ways, and, Shapiro's never been a true Trump fan. The way to purge MAGA from the Republican Party is to talk them out of getting vaccinated while being vaccinated yourself, and letting nature cull the herd for you.
About how to manage coronavirus, maybe forever.
Well, this is one of the big problems here, is that the vaccines are not preventing infection. They're preventing hospitalization and death, and that's wonderful and very...
Yeah, but, hospitalization and death, it is preventing hospitalization and death. And, of course, extremity of the disease itself, lowering the symptoms so that it doesn't cause some of the, the long-haul symptoms as well that would ruin people's lives and their productivity. I know that's mainly, since, Shapiro thinks people are only worth their economic output as humans.
But they're not preventing infection, which means that a lot of these vax mandates, which were designed to slow the spread, don't, in fact, achieve their stated purpose. And what the government...
No, they just keep your employees from fucking dying.
Threatening to do was essentially put businesses completely underground. Destroy the businesses if you didn't force your employees to vax or regularly tested.
Or what? Or regularly test? Everybody was falling into this. No, the only people that were fighting this are fighting this on ideological grounds. Because most of them are doing it fucking anyways. Because nobody wants to invest in an employee that much, especially big companies with over 100 employees, and go, fuck, the one guy who knows how to run this on the line is dead now. Or we lost a whole bunch of them because we didn't enforce that part. And now everybody's dead. Now we're behind our competitors 17 months because we got to retrain people to move them up the fucking line or whatever.
We weren't willing to do that at Daily Wire, and I can tell you that our Daily Wire...
At the Daily Wire? What? The 6 cubicles?
In Nashville, people were crying as they watched the decision come down because people literally thought that they were going to lose their jobs over this sort of stuff. And it was not just our employees. There are literally tens of millions of people across the country who felt exactly the same way. So we're proud to have stood for that. And
we're proud. And quite frankly, the couple of employees that got sick, fuck them. Hold on one second. I just want to see how many employees. Let's see. There we go. So the Daily Wire has 115 employees. They basically were going to fire 15 people so that the mandate didn't matter. Let's see. Jerry Boring, David Horowitz Freedom Center, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Conservatism in the United States. Yeah. 115 full. Okay, where's this one? This is from Axios. Let's see. They made $65 million last year because bullshitting Republicans into not getting vaccinated is good money. And then let's see. The Premier got 300,000 viewers between the thing. Said, okay, we have to change the audience thing. It means art, conservative, da da da. Entertainment, clearly the entertainment industry is hostile to conservatives. Bullshit. Oh, this is about their movies. I see. There's an article about their movies. Okay, so they have 115 employees.
We're certainly glad the Supreme Court ruled the right way on this. By the way, it is worth noting here that if not for the fact that President Trump was able to appoint 3 justices, there is no question that the administrative state would be able to do whatever the hell it wants in this country. There were 3 leftist judges on the Supreme Court who said that OSHA could, with pretty much no statutory authority, create a vax mandate for 100 million workers. Those same 3 justices said...
Well, no. Testing mandate. They could create a testing mandate. You can get tested every week, or you can get vaccinated. Until such time as, I guess, we reach herd immunity and they could rescind it. And you just hope you don't get it, but we know we're not going to clog up the fucking emergency rooms. Also, let's see. They're in Tennessee, right? They're in Nashville? Let's see what, because I have relatives in Nashville, got family, been there. I spent a lot of time in Nashville over my life. Let's see. Is that new cases, New York Times, Tennessee, Davis County? Yeah, this is what Ben Shapiro wants for his adopted town of Nashville. Half of Nashville's hospitalization incidental, admitted for other stuff. There we go. As COVID cases rise, ER space becomes non-existent. This is WKRN. We'll look at that in a second. Jail. Let's see this. Incidental admitted for other conditions. Yeah, this is because of Omicron. This is January 13th, yeah. Similar to other aspects, this week, Metro had 707 patients with COVID. But there's something not reflected. Where similar to other reports been done in other cities where a lot of people in the hospital with COVID, but it's incidental, meaning they had a heart attack, had a stroke, car accident. That's the testing volume. That said, yeah, people catching Omicron to get it over with worries health professionals. Tennessee has over 150,000 COVID cases. Again, Omicron being lighter. The problem is Delta is still out there, and this is the problem. Here you go. These folks. This is, January 13th. They got nearly 100,000 new cases, almost 220 deaths, 700 hospitalizations just for this. So Middle Tennessee continues to see a rise in COVID cases. Some hospitals deal with full emergency rooms, creating longer wait times for ER patients. As we got busier and busier in the ER, I noticed more patients checking into the waiting room with cough, cold, flu-like complaints, and we were swabbing them all as quickly as we could get them in the waiting room, and a lot of their tests were coming back before we could see them. Many of the patients waited in our waiting room for hours to be seen. Green says she doesn't believe they got back one negative COVID test from patients waiting in the emergency room. So the volume, the thing is the volume, how many people are getting Omicron because it spreads so fast, is raising the number of people, even though fewer people would be negatively affected, so many more people are getting it that more people who would be affected, and dangerously so, are ending up in the emergency room. But you know what? None of those people work at the Wire. Fuck them. Right? Who cares?
Last year that the CDC could just issue eviction moratoria indefinitely. If you had another 2 left justices on top of that, that would essentially say the executive branch under a Democrat could do anything it damn well pleased so long as it called it an emergency.
Great point.
Yeah, except for an emergency is a temporary thing by very definition. So they could make an emergency declaration that forever is an immediacy and order that they change the dictionary so that they don't have to change the Constitution. What they would do is order Merriam-Webster to change the word pursuit of happiness to mean incarceration for being conservative.
Yeah, you're right. Well, it was a big blow.
No, he isn't. Fuck off.
Joe Biden yesterday, but it's not the only one that he's experienced yesterday or this week. It's been one of the worst weeks, if not the worst week of his presidency, except for me.
Yes, terrible. Have you seen the employment figures? And more people are getting to stay home when they have a partner that's working because their wages are up. It's awful.
Afghanistan. But let's go over some of the things that happened this week that weren't good for him.
I'm sorry, Afghanistan? I'm not familiar. Are we still in that country? Anybody know if we're still in Afghanistan? I know Trump ran on getting us out. Did that happen? He got us out, right? We haven't been in Afghanistan since 2017, January 21st, right? Trump said first thing. He's smarter than the generals, especially, right? Were we ever in Afghanistan? Gosh, I've just forgotten all about it.
The CDC fact checks liberal justices pushing the vaccine mandates. Americans lose their faith in the CDC. Finding a COVID test is really hard. Record cases across the country.
I'm sorry. Headlines. For the record, mainstream media headlines. What was Ben Shapiro telling us about the mainstream media? There's something about it. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Hospitals reaching capacity. POTUS pivots to voting rights with a speech even members of his own party panned. Stacey Abrams didn't show up for that event.
They're not just mainstream media ones. They're from Fox Nation.
Georgia, in her own state, on her own issue. Inflation hits a 4-decade high. Consumers complain about all the bare shelves at our grocery stores. Stories about a 2024 ticket without Biden or Harris. Harris mocked for that rough TV interview yesterday. POTUS stumbles through the teleprompter at the COVID event and asks for the czar's name. He didn't even know his name. POTUS admits voting rights bill will likely fail as Senator Sinema takes on the floor before he arrives even at the Hill to talk to her about it.
And by the way, that czar's name was Tim Apple, just in case anybody was wondering.
Senator Manchin tells reporters that he hasn't talked to the president since before Christmas.
Yeah, they're off screen already. Yeah. And again, the folks that tell us that the mainstream media has a liberal bias and does nothing but lie, can't be trusted, are going to read us a list of headlines. Tell you what. Read me the second sentence of every third paragraph of all those articles. Because they're going to say, well, but, I mean, granted.
And that there is no renegotiation of the Build Back Better. SCOTUS knocks down the vaccine mandate for private businesses over 100 employees.
Dummy, we've moved on. Somebody tell her in her ear. Ducey, what are you doing, man?
National Security Advisor announced no further talks with Russia as the Russians get more aggressive, Ben. And then two more things. North Korea fires fresh missiles that are lashing out over our U.S. sanctions, the third round of those. DHS announces 104,000 migrants between March and August of 2021, and only 50,000 were checked in with ICE. Sorry for the long list, but our producers put on.
Yeah, only 50,000 were checked in because the rest were immediately expelled. Because they'd seen them before. We looked at the recidivism numbers so many fucking times. There's like a 47% recidivism. Every time you dump somebody, they don't even process them through ICE. They just go, hey, Juan, fuck off, buddy. And they drop him back in Mexico. And then 10 days later, he tries again. And we're not going to jail him here, so what the fuck do you want us to do? If he manages to get through, we catch him and keep sending him back. He keeps coming through the same spot.
That together, spent a lot of time. We wanted to read it to you and just show the people how bad this week was for the president. What's your reaction?
I mean, Joe Biden's presidency has fallen and it cannot get up. He has a serious.
Okay, so they pre-talked these. so Shapiro has a problem on his show that he's being perceived as a dud. I mean, we've done a couple of his clips. He basically reads shit off of his laptop. You know how like Dan Bongino's always looking left and right and kind of wide-eyed because he's confused about what he's talking about, and Greg Kelly's always looking down and that thing. Shapiro just sits there and reading off his fucking laptop. just like, it's one of the most boring things you'll watch. And he's got a problem with that. So what somebody has decided is that the Daily Wire is going to start losing viewership to other networks and whatnot. They've all dropped off since Trump lost. So they're all trying to gussy them up. So his publicist, more than likely, got him on, you know, and said, let him on and have him feature on there, and it'll be a good hit for you and a good hit for us. And you guys tee him up, and he'll do a couple of jokes. Because, yeah. He's as dull as a rubber mallet, and it's driving people crazy.
Problem on his hands. He came into office making two specific promises that he just could not keep. One is that you could spend your way out of a problem that did not exist, namely the economic recovery that was going to take place regardless of how much money we spent, and he inflated the economy.
Okay. Yeah, it was on autopilot. People didn't need anything. We didn't need a rescue package. We didn't need any of that shit. We don't even need an infrastructure bill. It's just pouring money nowhere. Yeah.
Its capacity. Now we have massive inflation. And the second promise he made is that the government would be able to, quote unquote, shut down the virus. It was a lie when he told it. He continues to maintain that lie. And he has boxed himself.
No, I did. I will say that while Omicron is more contagious, his vaccination push is exactly why deaths have gone down. And the only places they haven't gone down are Trump-heavy areas, conservatives who view Fox and Friends and the Daily Wire, who have blown off vaccination and are sacrificing themselves at the altar of you know, Cheeto Mussolini. That's why these are all the people. 99.6%. Remember a couple days ago? 75% of the people who died from COVID had, 4 or more comorbidities, right? That's the talking point. Now, I'm surprised they haven't brought it up yet. That was 75% of the vaccinated who have died. All 36 of them had 27 of those people had 4 or more comorbidities. The vaccinated people. All the other people, unvaccinated, largely by choice, majority in red states. And this motherfucker and Fox and Friends and Trump do not give a shit that they are killing their own people. It is weird that I and my chat room and the people who watch my show have more sympathy for the run-of-the-mill Trump voter, whom, of course, Tucker Carlson thinks are all terrorists, than these guys do. Like, look, the economy is more important than people's lives, and, you can't make an omelet without breaking some grandmas, so fuck it.
He cannot get out of this. These are all problems of his own making. He could control the border if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to control the border. He can't control the
if he can't control the border, then it isn't his responsibility. If no one can respond with an ability that would do it, no one's responsibility. All right. First of all, the border is puffery. All the border story is bullshit. And the biggest story is they keep catching people. All these people are crossing the border. And they're like, well, we're supposed to catch them, fucko. Well, they're supposed to magically not be able to cross at all. Well, what the fuck is wrong with the wall then? Why does the wall suck? Why is the wall... Why did we have less of a problem with people coming through when there was no wall?
It's because no one can control the virus. He could leave the economy alone and just let it grow.
Hi, Deborah. Okay, 1 second. Oh, my gosh. First of all, Bonnie, thank you for the super chat. Deborah, I'm vaccinated 2 times, taking care of anti-vaxxer until he went to the hospital yesterday with pneumonia-related COVID-19. I have no symptoms. Oh, good Lord. I'm sorry, Deborah. See, that's the problem. Even though Omicron is lighter, Delta is still out there. There's no wild type, which is pretty much gone. John, thank you so much for the super chat. Not much into heavy metal, but I would donate to Poison Song. Every rose has its thorn. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that. I'm sorry I didn't see that earlier. Nora, thank you as well. And Vincent, thank you for the 666. And Lulu Girl, you can see Tuck's face is thinking, if I do my squinty face, can I get my stupid father to believe? Yes. Alan, thank you so much. We're 1,100 people in the chat. So Carol donated $11. That's awesome. Oh, and John, again, thank you. 666 times 3 from your cats. Mr. Bojangles, Cheryl Crow, and Lunatic Rose. my own 2 cents worth. Thank you, Hal. I'm a 72-year-old veteran living in a town that voted 66.6 for dumpster. Oy. Well, we thank you for your service and bless you, and thanks for spending time here. Because that's the one beautiful thing. We'll even say this to the trolls that are out there. Thanks for the gift of your time, because it's the one thing none of us get a refund on. So, yeah. And we continue.
Can't do that either. He has created this box, and now he cannot get out of it. And so he's railing at the wind and shouting at the clouds like...
Hold on. His nose... Oh, his voice makes my sinuses tingle.
Simpson, and try and convince everybody that the 7 in 10 Americans who don't like him must be segregationists. No wonder this guy is so unpopular.
He's at 47% according to Fox. I mean, I'm sure they'll correct you. I know you're quoting the Quinnipiac poll, but...
And the fact is, he's got the job for 3 more years. We're hostage to it. If you are him, and we watched Bill Clinton pivot, we've watched other presidents pivot.
Yeah, they're basically living like hostages. You know, all of them making what, $12 million a year apiece. I mean, I'm sure she's not. I'm sure she gets 4. These guys get 12. She gets 4. He gets half of whatever Daily Wire takes in, some shit like that.
You go back in history, it constantly happens. So Bill Clinton actually recommended to him, go back with Build Back Better, pick 2 things you want and reintroduce it. And he goes, pull back. So if you're him, you got to fire everyone, beginning with Ron Klain. Whoever loaded the prompter for that speech in Georgia has to be fired. Whoever sent him to Capitol Hill while Senator Sinema was on the floor has to be fired. They are in his staff.
Yeah, that's the thing is, Kilmeade cares. He cares about him. He's got to start firing people. Because why? Well, because Trump had to fire a shit ton of people right out of the gate, and Biden hasn't fired anybody yet. And they're just working like a team. And they just passed the biggest infrastructure bill in 30 years. And they're working on the voting rights bill. It's,
is as inept as his speeches. So where do you go from here with 3 more years?
I mean, the biggest problem for...
Are you fucking kidding? Shapiro's going to be printing money for the next 3 years. Never mind that he's fucking wrong. Never mind that this is going to be like trying to paint bad news out of good every fucking day to the detriment of the American people and certainly his own followers while killing off a huge chunk of maggots that he doesn't give a fuck about. None of these assholes care. What do you mean, what are you going to do? You guys are going to make money hand over fist. You're in opposition territory. Opposition media always makes more money.
Is that, forget his staff. Joe Biden, his entire image was that he was gentle, empathetic grandpa. And then he allowed Afghanistan to fall.
No, you came up with gentle and pathetic. I don't think there was any of that. I think a lot of it was he was elected on, will you just shut up, man? That had more to do with it. If we wanted gentle and pathetic, honest to God, have you seen the pictures of Bernie sitting? Right? Wasn't that the whole point? Good
to 8th century cavemen and got 13 American service members killed and left hundreds of Americans behind. And that image was gone. And then he decided that he was going to call everyone who disagreed with him on federalization of all voting.
By the way, the 13 service people who died are Trump's fault. Because if he had done any of the work for the special immigrant visas, the evacuation would have not had been done in a cramped hurry. We wouldn't have to extend the deadline 3 months to keep our soldiers from being killed as we got out of the country, which we were scheduled to do in May, but they hadn't done any of the work. As a matter of fact, they'd stopped it all. And so it would have required leaving people who helped us behind to fucking die. And that's what Trump wanted. Trump didn't want any of the Afghans that helped us to make it out of the fucking country. They're Afghans. Ew. So he and Stephen Miller hamstrung the whole process. And because of that hamstring of the process, it jammed the entire process up. It made a big crush that didn't need to be there. They could have started evacuating they knew we were leaving. So why do you start evacuating embassy staff and getting down to the bare bones? Do it all digitally. Use fucking COVID. You know, we'd love to stay here longer, but we're planning on leaving. Let's get everybody moving towards the door. We'll have a skeleton crew of about, you know, 35 people. We'll get them out in May, but we'll do some of the work. He did fuck all of the work. The minute he lost the election, he wasn't even doing any presidenting on any of these things. But he was actively trying to stop the removal of materials and personnel from Afghanistan all the way up to the fucking election. Like, just grinding the fucking brakes. That's why those soldiers died. Because they were in an overwhelmed situation because of a backlog of work that was not done by the previous administration who had set the exit date. Fuck off with that nonsense. Also, Trump went to 4 of the 96 dignified transfers of dead soldiers that happened during his presidency. 64 American soldiers were killed in Afghanistan during Trump's presidency. He ran on getting us out. He was going to get us out in 2017. Remember that shit? Remember that whole thing? Ran on it. We're in these stupid wars. Even fucking Chris Matthews was like, this is the one thing that people like, is that Trump's against these stupid wars, right? And then he comes in and like in the fall of 2017 makes this, well, I've been thinking about it. Maybe we got to stay in a little bit. We got to kind of do it. We kind of maybe, I don't know. And then he stayed in another year, and then another year, and then another year. Did anything fucking change? I know I harp on this a bunch, but did anything fucking change on the ground materially in Afghanistan during the last 4 years when Trump was in office? Anything? Did they make progress with the military? Was there any ground we had gained that we would lose by leaving? None. We spun our wheels for 4 fucking years. 64 soldiers died, and then 13 more on the exit. And he didn't do fuck all to get us out. Everybody who died after he took the oath of office because he said, I'm getting us out, and he ran on it, is his responsibility. Piss off. Biden said we're getting out. And when he got in there, they told him the same bullshit story they told every other president. They told Obama, and the same story they told Trump. We had to, well, a little bit. Oh, we gotta kinda, we'll stay in a little bit. And he's like, no. We've been in for 20 fucking years. We haven't made any progress in 13. Every soldier who's died in the last 13 years has died to shore up this government and protect American interests. And if they're not gonna live up to it, we're not gonna continue to sacrifice our soldiers. Fuck you. Meanwhile, Trump rode the brake on the SIV program. Biden got us out. And one of the reasons why Trump never did it is because the general said, look, the minute we start this project, the minute we start this, there's going to be deaths. And he went, oh, well, so? And they go, well, it's just going to affect your polls. Your poll numbers are going to go down. People aren't going to like it. No matter who gets us out, people aren't going to like it. And it's going to knock you down at least 5 points. So, so Trump's like, no way then. That's why we stayed. No balls, total coward, weak as shit, and rode the brake on the exit all the way up to the time he left office. He ran on getting us out in 2015. He got elected and became president January 20th, 2017. And this motherfucker ran on this. Why? Didn't even start the process. Fuck it. Didn't make a speech about it for months. And then when he finally does, like, well, I talked to the guys, and they all think we should stay. Mr. I know more than the generals. I know more about ISIS. He wanted to bail on going after the ISIS caliphate, and the generals had to talk him into continuing it. He's like, it's 70% done, let's go. And they're like, no, we can continue this plan we've been doing for the last 5 years and end it. And he's like, all right. Bullshit. Biden got us out. Trump's a fucking coward. And then he comes and shits on our troops. saying in all these interviews that our soldiers dropped their guns and ran from guys with knives? That the soldiers that put themselves in harm's way, demilitarizing vehicles so they couldn't be taken by the Taliban, blowing them up, gutting them, throwing thermite grenades into them, the stuff we didn't take with us. Obviously, the stuff we were leaving for the Afghan military, we left them to use. That was their job to protect and use. They just didn't. But we weren't going to gut their material and while they still had a fucking fighting chance. What kind of sense does that make? But all the shit we were responsible for that was ours, that we didn't take with us, we destroyed it. And he lies and says our soldiers didn't do it. Calls them cowards. It's fucking gross. Trump has been shitting on our troops for years as, the suckers and losers nonsense. But since, he got ousted, everybody who, doesn't do what he supposedly wanted is a fuck up, including the generals who helped it with the evacuation, created the plan for it, and the soldiers who carried it out. He doesn't know a single name of one of the dead. He just brings up the number. He doesn't know the names of any of the soldiers that died while he was in office. He stopped going to the dignified transfers because one of the parents was mad at him. And I got news for you. I don't care what president you are, in any era, you're going to have a parent of a soldier, if somebody dies while you're president, who's going to be pissed at you because the buck stops there. But he was so upset, pissed off, that he stopped going. He didn't go to another one since 2017. Yeah, he stopped going to Dover after he got berated by a parent after the fourth one. And now he says our soldiers surrendered to guys with knives. He said it a dozen times. It's fucking gross. And the maggots and Trump ball garglers who just give this a pass. It's fucking amazing. It is amazing to me that people would, consider themselves America first or consider themselves patriots or think that the MAGA movement is about America and then just sit back and just bitch about empty shelves while Trump shits all over the troops. And watch Tucker shrug off, it's not, you attack a cop in an attempted takeover of the government. It's not real terrorism. It's just gross.
Procedure, a segregationist or a slaveholder, and now it's really gone. His image has been so tarnished at this point that I don't think that he can pivot to the center the same way that Bill Clinton did. Bill Clinton never
Let's see. Biden's, and this is Gallup. This is Gallup. Here's Bill Clinton's first year in office. Can I show you guys something? Can I just show you how willfully fucking moronic Ben Shapiro is? Now, most people think of Bill Clinton as one of the most popular presidents, and that is absolutely true. Especially look at those spikes, man. 73%, 66%, way late in his presidency. Ended up with a surplus, if you'll recall. First year in office, not so much. Not even battling not even into the Lewinsky affair, not even battling, COVID or some sort of deep recession in that regard. Started out at 58%. 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58% 58 at this spike, 93, when he gets in office, and before, like, the fall of that year, he's at 37%. And that's Gallup. Gallup has, let's see. Gallup has Biden at 43%. There you go. Right now, at what is arguably the lowest point in Biden's numbers, 43%. He could still go down. Yeah, he could lose another 6 points and still not hit where Bill Clinton was in the first year of his presidency. Without an exit from Afghanistan, without the follow-up from there was definitely an economic downturn issue, but, same ballpark, right? Now, let's see how Ben Shapiro finishes this thought, because that's what I'm curious about. So back this the fuck up, and what?
Point that I don't think that he can pivot to the center the same way that Bill Clinton did. Bill Clinton never lost the image, at least early on in his presidency, of at least being this sort of genial person who felt your pain. Joe Biden has lost that, and once you lose it...
Well, apparently he did, fucko, because Biden's still at 43%, according to where Gallup is in this portion of his presidency, and Bill Clinton lost it pretty fucking quick. He wouldn't get it back for 5 months? And even then, it took him till almost 97 to get back up to where he was. He got one bump right here. 94, there you go. Bonk, and then rattle the whole time. Now, when the Republicans attacked him, which might be a lesson to young Ben, there's a big Ben, so is he Lil Ben? Is that this is when the Lewinsky affair and all that kind of shit were hitting, and people were like, this is not something we worry about. And the American people resoundingly, dismissed this stuff. Yeah. So 37%. He's unsalvageable at this point, even though Gallup has him at 43% right now. And he's saying Clinton always managed to keep this likable thing about him, and yet he was lower in the polls.
Not sure you can regain it.
We're doomed.
Ben, ultimately, I think a lot of people...
Well, Fox might be. You might have a case. I mean, I'm sure you say that every time you look in the mirror.
Who voted for Joe Biden have buyer's remorse. And now, fast forward to the...
By the way, I'm a proud Biden voter. I'm a realistic human being with an understanding of how things work. I am not nervous at all. I'm really not. Own it. Enjoy it. Feel it. I don't live under the illusion of perfection for any human being, so I am not disappointed when they have hard work to do and they get at it. I don't dismiss it in other people. And I'd vote for him in a second. And the idea that, and by the way, these are 4 people, 3, who genuinely don't like Trump. Her especially, Ben definitely, he's a little on the fence about this. He just knows that's the side of the bread his butter is on. This dipshit likes Trump, but he thinks he is a moron. He also thinks all 3 of these people are stupid, just for the record, on an interpersonal level, right? So, and there is no way, if pinned down, Ben Shapiro would say, we need Trump back. But if he said it out loud, he's fucked. He would lose half the viewership. It's the truth. It is absolutely the truth. that there is, that Ben, if he has any of the brains that he allegedly has or people think, he does not for a second think Trump is a good idea or a possibility. It's just silly. It's a silly notion. He knows this. But if he says it on the Daily Wire, they're fucking done. They would collapse in an afternoon. Everybody would traipse off to watch Greg Kelly. Guarantee it. Which means Ben Shapiro lives a lie every fucking day. Every fucking day. When he sits there, it's one of the reasons why his show went from looking like this when he was kind of talking during the Trump years like this to now he's fucking reading his laptop on screen. It's fucking dull. But he's doing the same thing on his show that Greg Kelly and Bongino do. They're pretending that this is real. They're pretending that Trump is coming back and it's going to be magic and he was always magic and he hasn't missed a step and he's fucking awesome and Biden's a total mess even though their 401ks and their stock market is going up. These guys are all investors. They appreciate the monetary policy. None of them think for a fucking second that they would do anything different. Honestly. He is, the word grift is overused in a lot of ways because like Bongino's not a grifter, he's just dumb. Shapiro thinks he's smarter than his viewers. It's part of his, mystique or his image entirely is that he's supposedly smart. That's why he talks fast. Meanwhile, he is absolutely unequivocally living a lie because he could not speak the truth about his feelings about his deep conservative ideals, which he allegedly has, and his lack of fealty to Donald Trump. He'd be fucked. And he knows it. So that's what this is. So you go on and you shit on Biden and for no other reason than it's an image thing. What are they talking about here? Are we talking about the infrastructure bill? Are we talking about the rescue package? Are we talking about unemployment? Are we talking about the stock market that even after a 300-point drop is still at a record high? Are we talking about any of that shit? Are we talking about the fact that the fucking Goldman Sachs and Moody and all these people, when they come on Fox Business on the weekend, and I've shown you guys clips of this, are like, fuck, the economy's awesome. And it's a little tough for some people, but man, it's going to get better for them. And it's going to get better for everybody else. It's going to be sweet. They're just salivating at the investment opportunities and the growth that's headed and the fucking factories that are coming back to the United States. We talked about this a dozen times. There's going to be 5 new chip factories in Arizona alone. All his electric car batteries are going to be made in the United States. One of the factories is in fucking Tennessee and they know it. Near him. There's no way he doesn't know about that. Did that happen while Trump was in office? No. None of it did. It was a pissing contest over tariffs. He was paying farmers for votes. Meanwhile, none of the factories came back. No healthcare plan. No, Foxconn in Indiana? Really? Dig that hole. Fuck. Just so dumb. And look at his face. He knows it. Right? This is one of those things where, he's stupid, but he's not dumb. Dumb is ignorance. Stupid is you fucking know better. And if Ben Shapiro is anything like the person that they allegedly say he is, as far as, he runs a big company, but then, of course, Mike Lindell's a dipshit, and he probably makes more money than the Daily Wire, so that's, neither here nor there.
Close to the end of his first year in office, people are going, now, why did we pick him again? And it was...
infrastructure. That alone will save hundreds of thousands of American lives over the next 20 years. Not just the people who won't die because of lead poisoning from pipes all across this country as they are removed and no one is exposed to that anymore. Children with their brains looking like fucking Swiss cheese. Right? but also the people who will be the won't be the victims of crimes by people who have their prefrontal cortex damaged by lead poisoning that make them more impulsive, dangerous, antisocial, all the shit that comes from lead poisoning. All that's happening because the infrastructure bill and the rescue package both have funding in it and the materials and the plan to remove all lead pipes from the United States where customers are exposed to them. That's it. That alone. The shoring up of the ACA and the expansion of it. That alone. The rescue package, which salvaged 10 million small businesses. Now, we now know that Ben Shapiro, by a factor of 15 workers, is no longer a small business. He's got 17 workers. 17 workers put them over the top, so fuck small businesses. He's now in a different category. Yes, I am running along tonight. I'm getting a little prickly.
As he ran as a moderate, but once he got into office,
he passed the infrastructure bill.
Then suddenly the leftists in his party and the people he installed in the White House pulled him so far to the left. I think if he goes more into the lane where he ran, I don't know that he would win re-election, but I think certainly his poll numbers would go up because I think a lot of people.
Yes, sir. Yeah, those normally don't correlate. What?
You know, they're smacked in the face with the inflation and everything else, and it hits them all day. Bad decisions by...
Well, no, the news about it hits them all day. Yeah, leftists, whatever, but... Right.
This administration impact me all day, whether I'm in the grocery store, whether I'm at the...
You're not in the fucking grocery store. Yeah, Ducey's walking around a fucking bodega picking out oranges.
Station, whether I'm wearing a mask somewhere, all day, Ben.
You live in New York. Secondly, the mask aspect, that didn't start under Biden. And the goal is to get rid of it over time. We're trying. And you know who's stopping it? The fuckers who won't get vaccinated. Because while Omicron may pass through things and get to other people, it's limited in its viral dosage. And that's part of what keeps people from dying. It's part of what kept people from dying around Alpha.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, listen, he made a historic political blunder by deciding to move to his left in an attempt to be LBJ or FDR when he had 50 senators plus Kamala Harris and a very slim House majority. He did not have a mandate to do the Bernie Sanders routine. It was amazing. He beat Bernie Sanders because he was not Bernie Sanders, and then he allowed Bernie...
And then he did an infrastructure bill, which passed by bipartisan numbers. And then normally the debt ceiling would be a thing that both parties would agree to, except when they're just in a pissing match. And it was Trump's debt, but somehow Republicans didn't want to sign off on that. So it made it look like the Democrats were going it alone, even though all the Republicans knew that it was going to pass. So they just stepped back to let it fly through, just like the Squad did. But when the Squad does it, it's you know, leftist power struggles. And when the Republicans do it, it's keen political insight.
Sanders to body snatch him, and suddenly he was doing Bernie Sanders' agenda. Well, that was never going to be a success. The only way.
You mean elements of Build Back Better, which hasn't passed, but the other stuff that has. And by the way, is there something Bernie Sanders about the voting rights bill? Is there something inherently far left about that? Because there's no shit in there about no voter IDs. It's just making sure people have them. You can't charge people, but they have other availabilities. You can use an NRA one in some states, but you can't use your college ID, even though the fucking, what's the NRA? Is that a real organization?
A possibility of re-election, or that any successor of his has a possibility of re-election, is if he abandons his grand and glorious dreams of being a historic president and just goes back to being what he was theoretically supposed to be, which was a caretaker.
Stop swamping the country with positive works. Oh my God. So lazy. Oh, Nazi bots are trolling? Okay, thanks. Let me know. Yeah. Mods, do your stuff. We have, this guy has the voice of Casey Kasem farts. #1 with a bullet.
president who's just not going to be Trump. I mean, that was essentially his pitch. I'm a dead guy who's not Trump. And it kind of worked, but it turns out that as much as he may be close to not being alive, at least in image, he certainly had a very...
fucking Christ. Fuck you, dude. Just lazy. And by the way, Ben, in all seriousness, when you go to temple, please go up to the elders at your temple that are in the same age range as Joe Biden and speak to them this way. Because you don't have a problem doing it with someone who, you never talk to. Say it to someone that you do. Say it to someone, in that age, somebody who's a year younger than Biden. Talk about go tell them how close they are to death. Make a fallen and can't get up joke about them. That's conservative values, isn't it?
Political agenda that has alienated an enormous number of people.
Yes, he's alienated maggots all over the country. Granted, obviously, as much as he's alienated them, he hasn't killed them off en masse like Daily Wire and Fox and Friends. This is the difference. Biden has made the MAGA group very angry. But only Ben Shapiro and Steve Doocy and Brian Kilmeade could make it literally hard for them to breathe. Jesus fucking Christ.
Ben, thank you so much for coming on. Great job.
Yeah, Ben, thanks for coming on and shitting on old people because most of our audience is in Biden's age range, so shit. But they probably, they're probably in their first nap midway through. Is that you're assuming? Because they get up at 5 a.m.? Jesus.